really means that some of you don't have to get up very early tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think I might. I'm not sure.
I know. I think fall's going to try to come back this weekend for a little bit.
On that scale of North Carolina's 11 different seasons?
How many fake falls we have before it actually gets here?
Is this the second fake fall?
I think so.
No, not the fake fall. I don't even know.
It's the second ending, I think, to the fake fall. We're getting into the real one, I think.
Why was it 67 degrees and humid when I left the arena last night at 11:30?
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah.
I walked outside. I'm like, it's hot.
Right. I know.
Can't.
I don't understand.
Speaking of hot, Brian Geisinger, our basketball guru, at bgeist_bird, 24/7 Sports, Buzzbeat podcast. You can see him everywhere. Also, Split the Action, the Substack. You must if you want to learn more about the sport that you love. All right, let's start with the Tar Heels going into Lawrence, Kansas. First of all, just as a fan, how many players in this game tonight are going to catch our eye?
Well, first off, can I just add, I do not love it being muggy.
Yeah.
Now, when it gets dark at 5:17, that was not a pleasant experience to walk out to leaving the office yesterday. So, cognitive dissonance, not great. A lot for both teams. I mean, with obviously, I think we're all pretty familiar with the talent that UNC has, and sort of like the real plus, like upside talent of the freshman Drake Powell and Ian Jackson, but Ellie Cadeau, who he's looked good so far.
Right.
Start the season, R.J. Davis, Seth Trimble, like all very good, like plus guards in the ACC. And I've been in on Jalen Washington for a while, and I liked Van Allen Lubin during his freshman season at Notre Dame. And then Kansas they brought it in a big time. It's an interesting mix of not too dissimilar, like from Duke's roster in terms of like they went out and got really guys that can like really contribute and play in the portal. They've got some returners. And then they've got some high end, freshmen. At this point, everyone knows Hunter Dickinson.
Yeah.
They're going to play through him. KJ Adams is a guy that I've liked for a while. He's like a little out of position having to play like for some now, or play next to Dickinson because he's not much of a shooter. But they brought in Rylan Griffin, who was an excellent player the last couple of seasons at Alabama. Of that Alabama team, he played very well against North Carolina.
Yeah.
In the NCAA tournament last season, as you may remember.
Yeah.
But just some of the guys they brought in DeJuan Harris is back from the 2022 title game too. So there's an interesting mix of like just sort of like established good college veterans and then guys that are going to play in the NBA, in the next couple of years too.
Brian Geisinger, Buzzbeat podcast, 24/7 Sports, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. All right, so tell me when we went into the season, the way I was looking at it, and I look at it from a totally different surface than you do. To me, the keys to the Tar Heels having success were Elliot Cadeau and Seth Trimble both being passable from three-point range. Cadeau, it would force you to guard him out there, which would even more open up drives for him and create problems for a defense. And then Trimble, same way, because if you could play off of him, he basically just becomes an athlete, he's a great athlete. Now, they were both 3 of 4 in the win over Elon. But it's such a small sample size, I don't know what to make of it, but it was certainly a good start.
Yeah, and Trimble's such a good cutter and good athlete in transition. Like, you want him in those sort of like catch and finish moments as much as possible. And obviously, if Cadeau and Trimble are able to like pull gravity away as shooters, then that just makes everything easier for R.J. Davis, right, on or off the basketball. Teams can't load up on him as much in the pick and roll, or he's an incredible catch and shoot 3-point shooter. He's probably one of the best catch and shoot guys in the history of the program over there. And so when he gets off ball and he can float around and be dangerous shooting off the catch, then again, it just makes UNC even more dangerous in the half court. And yeah, I mean, the sample's too small to draw too much of a conclusion. I mean, I'm sure those guys have been working all off season since March on the jumper. But we'll need to see more of a sample. But at the least, it's encouraging, right?
Yeah.
But much bigger test, shooting tonight in Fog Allen Fieldhouse.
All right, real quick. Any concern that the Tar Heels allowed a pretty long run by Elon? I think it was 19-4 to take the lead with under 7 minutes to go. Was that concerning? I mean, it didn't bother me, but I'm also not yet dialed in with everything emotionally yet because there's a lot of other things going on.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's always going to be a little bit of weirdness in the early season games. I mean, Maine kind of stuck around for a while against Duke too. I mean, not like they took the lead in the second half or whatever, but like Maine played well, and there was a little bit of game pressure. My guess is that like guys like John Shire and Hubert Davis, they probably would like to win by 50, but also they maybe don't hate a little bit of game pressure early in the season once the cameras start to get a little more bright. I don't think it's too much of a concern. I mean, I think you just look at the 3-point numbers for Elon, 13 and 29, and the question is just going to be like, was that just like, did they have a big shooting night, and that's what sort of led them to probably be more efficient offensively than you would have expected Elon on the road in Chapel Hill, or is that something that is going to like linger and be a concern for UNC throughout this season? My guess is that is sort of like a bit of an outlier against UNC. So I wouldn't be too worried about it, but probably not like exactly what you want to see either.
All right, let's get to NC State, which, I apologized, I guess it was on Tuesday rather, because I didn't give heading into the game, I didn't feel the pulse of what it should have been celebrated as an enormously fun, for a lot of people, moving night, raising 2 banners for that program that really hadn't raised a banner in a long, long time. So that was a great night. But while they have some pieces back from last year, it's a completely different looking team. But they looked pretty good. They look like they have a lot of useful pieces. What did you see from the Wolfpack?
Yeah, it was also pretty cool, seeing and hearing Casey Morcell, as the color analyst on the call for that game too, just to add to the 2024, flavor for it. It was pretty cool. I mean, look, USC Upstate. I mean, it's a long way to rebuild for them. That's one of the weaker teams in Division I basketball, but. State looked great in the game. Obviously, even if you're sort of trying to scale it for grade on a curve or whatever. I mean, they lived at the rim, 34 shots at the rim, 7 dunks, and yeah, they're not going to have the sort of like DJ Burns, old school, clear out one side of the court post up looks, but you could still see them playing through the post, especially with Huntley Hatfield, letting him like rim run and steal in the secondary break, and they're running. DJ Burns plays to get him looks in the post up where, it's a cross screen and then he steals, or he sets a little down screen in the middle of the lane and then he steals and they try to throw it back in. I thought State looked long and athletic, even with the departure of something like Mo Diarra. I thought Dontre Styles fits perfectly as I expected him to, but just as this hybrid forward stretch 4 that he's so accustomed to having. I thought Dennis Parker Jr. coming off the bench, and that's the guy talent-wise I was pretty high on last season. Thought he looked good. They even tried him as a small ball center at times in that game, which is, maybe nothing, and maybe is just a card for them to play at sometimes this season. Marcus Hill is, he's interesting because he's not super athletic and bursty. He's kind of a below the rim guy, but his sort of herky jerk, offbeat drive game. Marcus Hill even had the little Steve Smith, he hit him with the Smitty in that game for a little reverse layup, just really crafty. So I guess my point would be they've got 2 centers that can run in the screen roll game that they can throw to on the post. They don't demand as much attention as Burns. But Huntley Hatfield can do some damage down low, and having a guy like Marcus Hill that does look like a guy that can bend defenses or force teams to put shoe on the ball, that would actually alleviate a lot of sort of the half-court concerns I sort of had with them coming into the season. I mean, we'll see where it goes, but I just thought they needed shot creation. And I will say, Paul McNeil, only 12 minutes in that game, but just like I thought there were moments in time you could really see his talent. I thought he defended pretty well. So I like some of the guys they brought in, in the guard, backcourt room. I thought Trey Parker showed some good speed, and we should mention Michael O'Connell too, just because I think he has his fingerprints on everything they do, and his activity defensively and in the transition game are huge for State.
I mean, by the end of the season, he had emerged as one of their, two, maybe third most important player when they went on the run behind the two DJs. I mean, he was just that good, and they had a lot of other great performances. All right, real quick to the Blue Devils, who got out to maybe after it was kind of tight for the first 5 minutes. Duke blew Maine out for like the next 10, and then whether they let their foot off the gas or just didn't play well, the game kind of leveled out, and it was basically an even game the rest of the way. Con Knipple was awesome. Cooper Flagg didn't shoot it well, but did everything else well. What else jumped out at you from that game that Duke either needs to do better, like rebounding, or what did you like?
Yeah, just for starters, I think we talked about this a little bit last week. Can we put to bed the notion that like Cooper Flagg, this has been like a media talking point thing, like he's not going to score as many points as maybe you would think for like a number one draft pick prospect. Like let's just take that storyline and let's just throw it real quickly in the garbage, because he's going to handle a lot of pick and roll. He's going to operate a lot of 5-out for them. He's going to shoot a lot.
Yeah.
I thought he looked excellent in the game despite some of the tough shooting. I thought he was everywhere.
He just didn't shoot well. He did everything else well.
Yeah. But the drives were good. The playmaking flashes. There's so much to like. Like he does just get by guys too, which is like pretty interesting. I thought Tyrese Proctor had kind of a quiet game, but was like good. He's one of those guys that's just like, I feel like he has a role almost similar to O'Connell. It's like get Duke going in transition, be a ball mover, hit the shots when it's swung your direction, play good defense. So I thought Proctor was solid. Ultimately, like I just think the defensive versatility that they have between Kaman Malawach and Malik Brown is really interesting, and the shooting in sort of like catch and go game of Con Knipple. Like he can operate pick and roll. He attacks closeouts. Like he's obviously like a very advanced shooter as a freshman when he's got great size, and he can is really good at setting up defenders coming off screens and stuff like that. But the fact that he can like catch and go and get into the paint and like use his body to like knock displace guys and shoot it, get to his like in between game. Just a really advanced, off-ball offensive player. So I don't know. I don't think it was like an amazing performance for Duke, but like it's crazy that they can give you I don't know what letter grade you would put with that, but they can do that and still win by 30 plus points and have a bunch of guys have like impressive box score games too. So looking forward to seeing more of them tonight against Army.
Yeah, Army was plucky in their game last year, if I recall correctly. Army gave them a little bit of a hard time. Look, we're looking forward to watching Carolina and Kansas tonight. That'll be the one that we're focused on. All right, Brian, we will talk to you next Friday. Brian Geisinger at @bgeis_bird, Buzzbeat Podcast, 24/7 Sports, Pack Pride everywhere, and get the Substack, Split the Action. Brian knows more about basketball than I've well, never mind. I can't even speak today. I'm exhausted from hockey last night. All right, man, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, you guys stay cool, okay?
You got it.